Texas is reeling after a 7-14 loss to Ohio State on the road. There were good things Texas did in that matchup, and in my preview, I said I thought that Texas was the better team entering this one, but Ohio State would be better coached. They were at home. There were some advantages they had, especially their receivers versus Texas's DBs compared to Texas's wide receivers against Ohio State's DBs. And I came away thinking much of what I did in the preview that, look, Texas, I think in the future, if these teams rematch, will probably win. That's to be seen. But Ohio State had some advantages, still do, and they ultimately won the game because they utilized those advantages, and I thought in that game were better coached. I think overall, Day's a better coach than Sark. I feel especially for Michael Taff, and you didn't hear his name all that much in the game, and when you typically hear defensive backs not have their names called, or that didn't make sense. You don't hear their names called. It means they did a pretty good job. And I thought that Texas's secondary played admirably, very admirably. I know that true freshman, I think Grayson Littleton played phenomenally, kept up with Ohio State's wide receivers. And Ohio State, they struggled on offense, and I think a large part of that's not because they have issues on offense, though they very well could. I think a lot of that's Texas has the best or second best, or at worst, it's a top 3 defensive unit nationally. I want to use what I saw against Ohio State, a legitimate opponent, possibly the best team of the season, and talk about what I need to see from Texas moving forward. This time against San Jose State, where Texas is a 36.5-point favorite here. And I want to discuss specifically 5 things I want to see from the Longhorns. Make sure, if you haven't already, to subscribe, like the video, comment your thoughts down below, hype the video using YouTube's feature on that, where you just click hype my video, gives me points, helps me get into the algorithm, and hit the notification bell on my Texas football playlist. That way you can get notified whenever I'm talking about Texas football in a video that is tagged in that playlist. So, looking at the Longhorns, kind of reacting in a sense, in a deeper sense, and there will be content probably after the San Jose State game where I get to see, Texas and Ohio State play each other, and then 2 very inferior opponents, and try and piece together what their strengths and weaknesses may be. There will be a deeper reaction to the first 2 games next week, so you'll really want to hit the notification bell where I go back, watch the film on both games, and tell you what I see through 2 weeks, because then we have double the sample size of what we have now. Also get to see things against inferior competition. When you struggle against inferior competition, that either means you're hiding something, you're rotating your players, or there's just straight up a problem. So that'll be fascinating. But here, what I want to see out of Texas is Manning's accuracy improve. Figure out whether or not he had the jitters against Ohio State, or if he is just that inaccurate and that raw still, or if it's a mix of both. He was downright awful at times, where he had wide open guys, just dirted the football, overthrew them. And Patricia did a good job disguising coverages, making life hell in Sark and Manning's head. But by the end of the game, I think Sark was doing a pretty good job of figuring out Patricia. I mean, Texas didn't punt. And I think that if Texas just made some minor changes to decisions, things that you can't change, but if you were to rematch, you could make sure you change those things and you make adjustments. I think Texas could have actually come back and won. They didn't, and Ohio State outcoached them. Ohio State was the better team that day. But it's not like Patricia and Ohio State defensively were getting pressure on every down and were always covering Texas's receivers permanently all the time, and there was just no room for anything to happen. Manning straight up sometimes wet the bed by his own will, by his own ability. And a lot of the times Ohio State's defense was doing something, but sometimes when he had an opportunity, he just did not step up and do it. And that was very discouraging. I did not quite expect that, if I'm being honest. But it is game 1. It's his first time as the definitive starting quarterback at Texas, not him starting because Ewers is hurting. So it is different. And I expect against San Jose State that he will have a good game. I mean, the line is 36.5 points in favor of Texas. Texas should win pretty convincingly here. The defense, dominate this game. You, along with the Ohio State defense, dominated that first game. The difference is Ohio State had elite wide receivers, and you do not. That was really the difference in that game right there. Had nothing to do with Texas's defense being a underperforming unit. They performed to the level I expected them to, at an excellent, high-tier, best-in-America potential unit. Dominate yet again. Pitch a shutout or something very close. Rotate your players in, and not just players like your true freshman corner who did an amazing job. I'm talking about rotating guys who aren't quite ready yet and help them to get ready so that as the season progresses and you need depth, you can reliably call upon your depth. Number 3, I need to see offensive line improvements. Their run blocking looked excellent. Pass blocking missed some assignments, but overall held up. And Ohio State did some very complex things to try and mess up Texas's offensive line. Sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. Ohio State's defense totally had an advantage naturally against the Texas offense, partially because defenses this early, especially when returning productions at an all-time low, have an edge over offenses. So with all that being said, I thought Texas's offensive line performed pretty well. Here, having said that, because Ohio State's defense is ridiculously good, Texas's offensive line should look like a Joe Moore Award caliber against San Jose State's. Easily. So do they? We'll have to see. And number 4 and number 5 are receiver involvement and motivation. I was talking with someone who, look, he follows Texas. He watches their games. He is someone who, he bets on Texas. He bets on college football. He's actually a friend of the channel, Bald Father Bets. You should check out his channel. Big Texas fan, very objective. Him and I were talking just about things that he saw on film, and he thinks that this Texas receiver core does have some questions about it for sure, and thinks that they were actually one of the bigger concerns of week 1 from Texas. So what's their involvement here? What do we get out of them against a secondary that is nowhere near Ohio State's level? Do they have some of the same issues? Or did they just have a limited ceiling? Or is Ohio State's secondary maybe one of the better secondaries that we've seen in a long time in college football? We'll see. And number 5 is motivation. Do they play angry? Do they play sad? Sad means you come out, you're a little mopey, you're slow. Or do you play angry and you're about to set the world on fire? That's all I have to say here, really, for my game outlook for Texas versus San Jose State. Thank you so much for watching. Again, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll have a video out reacting to this game as soon as possible. Have a good day.